Thank you very much, Muskan. And of course, it's an honor to, introduce Professor Prabhat Patnaik, though of course Muskan has eloquently introduced him. And of course, the trope that he needs no introduction, at least in JNU and in the world, as she told us. So, Prabhat has been, very much part of JNU. He's an institution. And his work has evolved over the years and gives a lot of insights into neoliberalism and what we see today, the sort of the economic violence which has sort of come up over the last few years. And also for people like me who are not economists, who have nothing to do with economics, his work, his writings in the newspaper, I've been listening to his talks for a very long time, has really helped us a lot to understand a lot of the cultural practices, because neoliberalism has very, very strong impact on cultural practice, particularly the field which I represent, which is theatre studies, where groups, actors, companies are left alone. And because theatre had never been a culture industry like the Bombay films, neoliberalism has really affected it a lot. So over the years, I've been reading Prabhat's writings, his editorials, his columns in Indian Express, in the Telegraph. And I remember in 2014, when we had the International Federation for Theatre Research in Hyderabad, Professor Patnaik gave the keynote speech. And there was a room full of about 1,500 theatre scholars from all over the world, and they listened mesmerized for 1 hour to economists talking about the economics, how it impacts culture, how it impacts performance culture, which we all sort of look at. For us, who grew up in West Bengal under the left front rule for many, many years, Professor Patnaik's sort of a work on Marxist economy has been very important, because living in a so-called state where the left was ruling, we understood what it meant to have social welfare, to talk about social citizenship, to talk about social justice and equitable distribution of wealth, and how that was very important for any democratic practice to actually work. And as you know, the first finance minister of the left front government was Dr. Ashok Mitro, a very good friend of Professor Patnaik's. And I remember, Prabhat, many, many years ago, you came to a theatre photography exhibition along with him because he was inaugurating it. And later, when again under the left front, we felt, there was a lot of compromise on these social welfare means, the strongest critique actually came from people like Professor Patnaik, Professor Jayati Ghosh, and this sort of debate that where is it going wrong? What is the basic fundamental foundation of a left ideology vis-a-vis a state government which is working within the larger capitalist system. And so when we came to JNU to work, and this is a very personal anecdote, I came from a very strong Marxist-oriented cultural family. My parents were very radical Marxists, so when I wanted to study in JNU, they said, no, you can't study in a university which is named after Jawaharlal Nehru. Because at that time, this was, that oligarchy was their class enemy. But when I came to work here, and what had happened since JNU was founded, and when the department was founded, it's people like Professor Patnaik, Professor Ramila Thapar, who sort of created, this very democratic space, a space where there was freedom to debate, freedom to talk about, antagonism, agonism. And I'm sure, my parents, they're no longer there, would have been very proud that I belong to a university like this. And today, when we are part of the Teachers Association since 2016, it's a space which is still holding up, which is still giving so much of resistance, generating the very important debates in the public sphere as part of the civil discourse. And we have, our colleagues and predecessors like Professor Prabhat Patnaik to thank for. So with that, I call Professor Patnaik to talk about neoliberalism in India and a decade.